The term authenticity, right? That's a subjective term for many people, right? So I think there's a difference, and we get into this, but I think there's a difference between bleeding out, right? Um, and all you see is the blood. You don't see the person,
Mm.
right? If you see someone who's tremendously injured, and that is a horrific sight, it causes people to recoil, to go, I don't even know what to do with that. I think someone who would even care about us and see us in that state would go, man, I don't even know how to fix that or respond to that for fear of dishonoring it or diminishing it and that sort of thing. And so I think folks run the opposite direction. So I think there's a responsibility within authenticity. I think that it's not just free for all, hey, take it or leave it, because
No,
I
I don't
feel
think
that
I don't think it can be.
it shouldn't be. I don't think that's authenticity. Um, I think that's just look at me. Could be selfish. Could I mean there's reasons why that can happen, but there's liabilities that come with that. So I think you're right. There has to be an awareness, a self awareness
Good
of what
word.
authenticity is, right?
Yeah. Hmm.
And be able to. And it's going to sound like I'm over spiritualizing it, but I've run the spectrum, so I've been on both ends of this thing. I've been tremendously guarded, really focused on how I present myself. Right, those are things that we're taught. These are things that we learn how to play the game, especially when we're young in ministry. We're climbing up all the rest of those things. But then I went all the way to the other side, and there's some great liberating factors of living an authentic life. Right, an open book, no secrets. It's a wonderful place to be, and I love living there, and I do live there. But you have to meet people at the level they're willing and able to receive that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it gets lost, and then we can feel like people don't understand us. Oh, I'm just being authentic, and that's too real for someone, which I think that's a false bottom. So I probably brought up a couple things there, but that's my first thought.
Well, I don't think people, first of all, whether they're talking about their pastor or even a close friend, they don't always want to see your garbage. It's uncomfortable. How many
Mm-hmm.
times you have a real conversation with somebody and they ask you how you are, right? Generally, and you really tell them, and they clam up like, oh, okay. Well, God bless
Mm-hmm.
you. Oh, I hope you get better.
Yeah.
I gotta go. And maybe that's, David, because we're uncomfortable with our own authenticity. How can you deal with somebody else's crap if you don't know how to even acknowledge your own?
Yeah.
And maybe that's part of the problem is, generally speaking, from a human perspective, we don't know how to be 100% honest with ourselves. Maybe ever.
Yeah. Maybe ever.
So, I mean, I think I'm getting better at it. I am not an expert in this podcast. Um, what I'm learning how to do is learning to talk about not my authenticity, my inauthenticity, because I think that's the beginning. If you can't fix what you don't admit. So I have to admit those areas in my life where I feel like I am not true to self. I tell you what you want to hear because I care what you think. I probably care what you think more than I care what I think about myself, and it becomes this battle, and it's a real struggle, especially when you're in professional ministry, because you're supposed to be, like we said
Right.
before, leading people to a place where across the street that we don't know how to cross, and if we're not careful, we'll get somebody killed in the midst of doing it.